Welcome to Inspire Me with Jay, a podcast focusing on meditation, the near-death experience, and all things spiritual. Hello, this is Jay Spillers. My special guest is Victor Hickes. Victor, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. So tell us about your near-death experiences. You had a couple of them.
Yes, okay. Well, my first near-death experience was when I was 20 years old, and I had a operation. I had a chronically infected gland here, and I went for a routine surgery at University of Kansas Medical Center, and the surgery went well, I thought, and after after the surgery, I was taken to a recovery room, and they put an IV in my arm to fight infections. And the minute the nurse put the IV in my arm, I had a sharp chest pain, and I let her know, and she said, "Well, that happens sometimes when." They just take the IV bag out of the refrigerator and it's cold and it goes into your veins, and sometimes it makes you have chest pains and other pains. I said, okay, I'm taking her word for it. But there was maybe about 12:30 in the afternoon, and all throughout the day, I would have these sharp chest pains, and over and over, I would push the button, and the nurse would come in, they would check my vitals, tell me I'm okay. So, okay. So later on, it was about 10:40 that evening, and I was laying in my hospital bed, and I was watching Nightline with Ted Koppel, and I had the biggest chest pain you can have, like a sword with an elephant sitting on it. And I was gone. I was out of my body. I was over my body, and I could see the blue rays from the TV on my body, and I could still hear Ted Koppel talking, and I was like, what, am I dreaming? But I knew I wasn't dreaming because I knew everything at that moment. I knew what Ted Koppel was thinking. And I said, am I dead? And so kind of scared me. So I said, God, help me. And I was back into my body. And then I pushed the button, and the nursing button, and the doctor came in. It was the doctor that did my surgery earlier that day, named Dr. Hickes, and he usually wasn't there that time of night, I don't believe. And he asked me, hey, Victor, what's going on? And I told him, hey, I just had like a chest pain. I like kind of like died or something. I left my body and stuff. And he said, what? He said, nobody told me you've been having chest pains. Did you tell the nurse? So I told him, yeah, I've been telling them all day. So he cursed, he started cussing, get in there and get the effing IV out, So they went and scrambled and got the IV out of me. And then after that, he came back in. He wanted to hear about it because he believed. A lot of people I've watched near-death experiences since then. I've been watching them, and they have doctors and nurses and stuff that don't believe them. My doctor believed immediately, and some of the people shy away from telling, but I never shy away from telling people. But he believed me, and that changed my life. I never watched Nightline again. Like Ted Koppel kind of had an agenda there, but I never watched Nightline again. That was my first near-death experience. It kind of changed my life because I was just like most young guys, just thinking about girls and foolishness stuff. But it kind of changed my life to think about eternity. And so the second one was many years later. it was April 27, 2010, and I had gone through a lot of hardship I could see, as I perceived in my life, a couple of divorces, couldn't see my children, bunch of child support, broke, working 20, 30 hours a day, still broke. And now going through all of that, I had started having medical problems. I started having these, my blood pressure was out of control, no matter what kind of medicine they were prescribing me. And I was having these migraines with this ringing in my ears. And man, I was going through so much stuff. I figured it was time for me to end it all. At that time, I was a deputy sheriff, but I was also working in Leavenworth, Kansas at a U.S. Marshal facility, and I was a captain there. So I had like 1,500 inmates I was responsible for, and maybe 200 employees. So I had a lot of responsibility too. And so this day, I figured I was going to stop this ringing and everything else. So earlier that week, I had gone to a discount store in Leavenworth and bought some Benadryl, and it was a bottle of 500. And I think I'd taken a couple maybe. And I took all 500 of them, 499 or whatever was left. And I was gonna lay down and go to sleep. But before that, right before that, I was gonna shoot myself in the head. And I heard a voice say, "Don't shoot yourself because you don't want your son to find you like that." And so I was thinking, well, I don't know if that was my voice or something else, because my son, he had been living with me. He was like maybe 14, 15 then, and he wanted to run away and live with his friends. And I hadn't seen him in like a couple of weeks. And anyway, as soon as I took those pills, my son walked in the door. And he came in and asked me, was I okay? And I was really really thirsty. The medicine had started taking effect on me, and I was really thirsty, and I was starting to get very hot. And so in the voice and the breath that I could muster up, I asked him can he get me a glass of water? And he ran and got me a glass of water, and I tried to drink it, but I couldn't. And he called the emergency services, and they came and got me, tried to ask me what had happened, what's going on. And I wasn't saying anything. I was ready to go. And they put me in the ambulance, and they didn't take me to the 2 or 3 hospitals up in Leavenworth. They took me to a hospital in Kansas City, Missouri, probably about 40 miles away. And on the way, that's when I left my body. And I can see the guy that was in the back of the ambulance with me. And he was kind of like that. He didn't really care. He yanked my right arm. I had trouble with my right arm for years after that, after he thought I was dead, I guess. And anyway, they took me to St. Luke's Hospital in Kansas City, Missouri. And next thing I know, it was like the whole thing started maybe about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Next thing I know, it was maybe 12:30, 1 in the morning. And I woke up in the hospital, doctor standing over me, and also my ex-wife. And I was like, well, this didn't go too well. My ex-wife here. And so anyway, they discharged me. I was they still were asking me what did I take. I didn't tell them. I said whatever. I was still upset, and but I didn't know what had happened. I just felt like something that happened, like I had been emptied out from the inside and filled back up. And so my daughter and her boyfriend at the time drove me home back up to Leavenworth, and I went to sleep. And when I woke up in the morning, I remembered what had happened in my near-death experience. And this is what had happened. The first thing I saw, I didn't see any tunnel or anything. I was in the light, and it was the light. It's not a light. It was like the light of all lights, if you can say that like that. Maybe it was, like they say, probably brighter than 10,000 suns, but it didn't hurt you. It was a light and love at the same time. And there's no words to describe the light and the love. And he said, I have no condemnation for you. And so I said, well, I was thinking like, wow, I didn't even, those weren't even words that I used. And then he took me, and now I'm saying he said this, but it wasn't words. It was like telepathic, and I'm saying that he took me, but all this stuff is like, it kind of like was happening at once, but also in an order, if you can explain. It's no way to really describe it. But anyway, so it like kind of took me and put me inside the light and the love. And it's kind of like I said, it's like being under the water, in the swimming pool, except when you're in the swimming pool, even though you're under the water, you're separate from the water, even though it's all around you. But there, when I was inside of there, I became one with that light and that love. And I knew I was at home, and I didn't want to leave. And then he said, your life is not yours to take. And I was thinking like, well, whoever it is to take, when you go ahead and take it, But he said, and next thing I know, I was standing, and the light turned into a liquid light and love, and like real thick, like buttermilk kind of, and it started into my head, and it poured all the way down. And when it hit my feet, I woke up. I was in St. Luke's Medical Center in Kansas City, Missouri. And so, yeah, and God spoke to me again. He said, you let people know that I'm a loving father, that I'm doing everything I can to get you in, instead of, trying to see any mistake you make to exclude you. And the reason he said that, because I'm also ordained as a minister, and I would, anytime my friend, he had a church, I would, and whenever he would take off or something, I would stand in for him, and I would talk Sunday school and different things, and I would always get to the judgment part. That's what most people do. They think we're doing God a favor by talking about his judgment and how he's not ready to strike you down. But God told me that, he told me these words. He said, I'm being misrepresented. And it made me sad. He said, I'm being misrepresented. Let people know that I'm a loving father. So that's why, I contact, these shows and stuff, and I do these podcasts, because I want to let people know that God is a loving father. He's real. And he loves you. He's not out to get you or condemn you. I mean, I thought, hey, I might go to hell. I don't know. You kill yourself. I heard it. I didn't know. I was just tired. I didn't care. I was ready to go to the next phase, whatever that might have been. And he chose to take me, and then he told me to write this book and all that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm letting people know that he's a loving father.
So
that was my story.
So I think you said in one interview that you had been a Muslim, but then when you had your near-death experience, you just sort of had an inner knowing that it was pretty much like the God of the Bible or the Christian understanding of God.
Yes.
Correct.
My first near-death experience, when from a child, we went to a Baptist church, Antioch Baptist Church, KCK, and when I was maybe 5 years old, my brother was 4. They give an altar call to come down, and me and my brother went down one Sunday and accepted the Lord and all that stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. I was a kid, but God knew. And anyway, cut a little bit later, I was 16, 17 years old, and I started thinking, I've seen a lot of stuff. I said, man, this is a bunch of foolishness, man. These people aren't serious about their religion stuff. I said, this was way back in the 70s. I said, I'm gonna be serious about my religion. The Muslims, they're serious about their stuff. So I said, I'm gonna be a Muslim, I never did, actually convert or anything. I was just calling myself Amir and I stopped eating pork, and that was the first thing. After I had my near-death experience, the doctor asked me if there's anything I want. I was like, yeah, I want some bacon, you understand? I want some bacon, wrapped bacon. Yeah, but when I died and I asked God, I said, in that first near-death experience, I said, God, save me. I knew it was the God of the Bible. I knew it. Nobody could tell me anything. I haven't thought anything about being a Muslim or anything else since. And it gave me a loving heart for Muslims and everybody else too, also, though.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So is it sort of like the Christian understanding is the truth, closer to the truth, but he doesn't necessarily condemn other people like Muslims and whatnot, or anyone, does he?
He didn't condemn me. He's not condemning anybody, really. We condemn ourselves. We really condemn ourselves. I mean, from what my understanding, he sent his son to die in our place, that we can become that we might become children of God. But we were born when he made us, and as he made us in his image and in his likeness, and we are a part of him, no matter whether we accept him or not. But he provides a way for us to him to know him, and that's through the Lord,
Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, I had heard about near-death experiences where people could read the minds of people in the room, like the doctors and nurses. You're like the first one I've heard where you heard what someone was thinking on the other side of the TV.
Yes.
What was Ted Koppel actually thinking?
I used to watch that show every night. Now, I loved it. I thought, he was a good guy trying to get to the bottom of it. And it seemed like he had an agenda that he was pushing forth. It wasn't some neutral guy reporting the news. It was a guy, in my opinion, pushing an agenda that he was a part of.
So, but I mean, do you remember like the specific thoughts that he was having, or?
I do not. No, I don't.
Oh, so you had a conversation with God in your first NDE too?
Well, not really. Just called upon him to save me. Just really, and he brought me back. But in my life, all through my life, God has spoken to me, and sometimes I don't, I try to, maybe just like when he told me don't shoot myself. Sometimes I don't really know, well, what's this God or not, or sometimes you might justify it away or something. But yeah, God has spoken to me all through my life. I think, you know what, I believe he speaks to everybody, but most people don't listen. They don't believe it.
Mm-hmm. So are you in ministry right now?
Not in the formal sense. This is what I do as a ministry, and I talk to people every day. And I wrote a book, and he told me to write a book. I hate writing. I used to get in trouble even as a captain for my reports being so short, you know. So I never. So I'm no writer, you know. But he told me to write a book, so I wrote a small book about my experience, you know. Try to let people know that who he is and what he's done for me, and how much he loves you, how he's enough to send his son to die and rise again in our place.
So did you have an encounter with Jesus, or was it just sort of like God in general? Kind of?
No, I knew it. I knew it. Now, I have a. Can I talk about my dream?
Sure.
I had a dream. Yes. Okay. April of 2020, I had a dream. Now I was sleepy after work one evening, and so I don't know what made me pray this prayer, but it's something about it's a prayer. There's a verse in the Bible that said we're seated with Christ in heavenly places, and when I said that, I was on this street, and well, it's for lack of a better word, it's a street, and it went up, and there was a hill on the facing where I was facing on the left hand side, and there's a man walking down in a white robe, and I couldn't see his face because it was light. And when he got down to me, he put out his hand to me, and it had a hole in his hand. And when he grabbed my hand, I became like a child. And he turned around and we went walking up the hill. I was a child, but I was still like I was grown. But I guess maybe in comparison to him, I was a child. And we went walking up the hill. And the first thing I saw my father, who had passed in '97. And he smiled. I couldn't talk to them, but and they could telepathically like talk to me. But my dad, he said, "You surprised to see me here, aren't you?" I was like, "Well, hey, I didn't know, you know. I'm no judge, you know, Dad, but I didn't know, you know. I didn't know what you knew or believed, or if that affected your eternity or whatever, you know." And so he was smiling, and my mother was there next to him, and she smiled, but she just waved at me, and I saw my sisters. I had 3 sisters that had passed, and I had a niece who had died when I was probably 9 years old, something like that. She was 2 of sickle cell, and Kelly, and I saw her, and she was beautiful young lady. And I saw my uncles and aunts that had passed, and I saw my first wife, her dad. He had passed on Christmas. I forgot what year it was, but maybe 2000, something like that. And he had passed, and he was so happy to see me. He had the biggest smile of any of them that I've seen. And he had a box haircut, you know, and he had on like an army fatigue. He loved when he had spent his time in the army, and he used to play basketball a lot. When I told his wife about that, she's still alive. You know, she said, "Wow, that is like his favorite time of his life." And she had to make him get off the basketball court and come home at 10, 11 o'clock at night, you know. and he was playing basketball. He said, I'm playing jump center. That's the position he was playing. And he waved at me. And my second wife, her dad had committed suicide in like 2014. And I saw him and his dad, and he had a brother who had been killed in a car wreck when he was 5 years old, and that I had heard about, but I had never seen him or anything. But I saw those three standing together, talking in heaven, and they were happy to see me also. They kind of looked like triplets, except their dad was a little bit shorter than them. And I saw my uncle. My uncle, he was a pastor in a nearby town called Bonner Springs or Kansas City, and he was laughing. I used to go and talk to him, and we laughed together and stuff. And he was double over laughing, and I knew the reason he was laughing. It was because at his funeral, somehow they had his feet rolled up where his shoes were sticking out of the casket. And now, when I went to his funeral, I noticed that. I'm like, why is his feet sticking out? I'd never seen that before. And he was laughing that I had noticed that at his funeral. And then I asked the Lord, could I see my house? I said, well, I heard that people have houses here. And then I was on that same street that we were going up. And then I noticed that it was my street. And it was at the top of the hill. And there was a building. It was like 1 story, but it was glass. And it didn't have a front door. And it had like a gray black slate roof pointed, at the entrance when you go in. And we went into it, and I was noticing there was no door, but we went in anyway. And it was built into a mountain, off the mountain. And I love mountains. And across from the mountain, there's another mountain. You can see it. There's a waterfall with blue water coming down and into a beautiful blue river down at the bottom. And it had 3 stories. The house had 3 stories, all glass where you can see out. And he said it's not finished yet. And then next thing I know, I was waking up and I was upset. It was beautiful. But for over a year, I was wondering why this house didn't have a door. And I kept praying about it and asking about it and thinking about it. And finally, like last October, I had a dream, and he said to me that he is the door. He said, I am the door. You can't get in without me, So, yeah, I had about that. But all of my life, I had been an empath. I learned, and I didn't even know what an empath was. My friend told me asked me, was I an empath a couple of years back, and I had to look it up. I don't know what an empath is, but I found out that's what I was. But I was in my life, I would be so depressed, and I wouldn't know why. And it'd be because I'm around so many different people, especially working I work inside the jails and prisons and stuff. Man, there's a lot of depression in that. And man, that is not a place if you're an empath to work, man. So, but let me see if I can think of anything else. That's about it.
So, like on your dreams, did they feel very vivid and real? Like when you're awake?
Oh yeah, I can still remember that. Like I can't remember dreams that well, a few of them, but that is I can remember that just like just like today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could have stayed.
So what do you think, like when you say God isn't here to condemn us, we condemn ourselves, what do you think about hell? Do you think hell exists? Is it for a specific purpose?
I asked about that too. I asked about that, and he told me, he said hell does exist, but he said he said he didn't make it for man. He made it for, there were angels who rebelled against God, and there are a lot of people who know about this truth, and there are people who choose to go with it. They don't know, they want their stuff all today, and that's it. you know.
Hmm.
And there is a hell, but he didn't design it. I mean, you can go if you want to, but he didn't make that for us. It's too much for a human to be able to bear. Now, I've never, I had a dream of that one time. It was more like a vision, but I know a lot of people, including my sister, who's gone. And come back to tell about it.
So is it possible to be saved out of hell?
I'm not sure. I've seen some near-death experiences where, like Ian McCormick, man, where he didn't know anything about God or anything, or didn't want to know anything, but his mother prayed and God sent and downloaded the Bible into him, and now he's been a preacher for a long time, and he was in hell or on his way. And also, what's that? Howard Storm.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I know my sister that she was on her way. I mean, she was there, and she said she prayed. My sister and my other sister was praying for her, and they brought her back. So. And I know a few more guys. Guys said these things were biting all over him and cursing him and calling him a fool. And you heard a voice that said, "Let him go. He's mine." And the things ran off of him, and they were demons, I suppose. And they run back on him and biting on him again. And he heard a voice that said, "Let him go. He's mine." And they ran off of him. And the third time when he said that, he woke up and the paramedics were working on him. So.
Why do you think that maybe you didn't go?
Go ahead.
Oh, I said, why do you think maybe you didn't have a hellish NDE?
I believe that when I was a child, God honored that as I accepted him.
Mm-hmm.
We might think that he let it go, but there's a scripture that said nothing can pluck you out of my Father's hand. We might think we're leaving or doing something. Sometimes, he might take you out of here, but I think you can renounce him, if you really know what you're doing. And all right, I want no part of this God stuff, this Jesus crap. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna serve whomever for what I want. You can renounce him, I believe that, and you go on about your business. But if you're really trying, he's got you.
Was that be sort of like blasphemy of the Holy Spirit? Kind of like where you just know the truth and you reject?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I've heard so many debates on the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. I don't know, but I'm no theologian, and I'm not sure they know either. But I know the main component of everything is love. And when I was growing up and all my life, I thought those were silly songs and and cartoon themes and stuff like that. But it is really about love, and God is love.
Mm-hmm. So is your book out?
Yes. Yes, it's called Crystal Stairway to Heaven. It's on Amazon. I don't really push it much. I think you make like 11 cents, and then you got to pay like 62 cents in taxes on each one of them. So, but
yeah.
But yeah, it's called Crystal Stairway to Heaven. I got a copy of it. I think it's on my. I got it on my. I got it holding up the holding up the phone there. I got to give that one away tomorrow to a lady in drug court.
So, is there any like final message you want to give before we close out?
Well, just that Jesus Christ is real. He loves you. God is real. He loves you, and they are for you, not against you. And you know, if you call out to him, you don't have to. Nobody is perfect, but he is. That's what it's about. He's perfect. It's like the commercial, the scrubbing bubbles. We work hard so you don't have to. He did it so you don't have to. You can't do it. You know, I met so many people working in the jails and prison and stuff. They have had horrible upbringings. Oh my God, stuff that you couldn't imagine. I met a girl. I think she was 20 years old, pretty girl, and she was I could hear this scream, and I was a sergeant at that time, and the street officers were bringing in this person. They were in a paddy wagon, and the door was closed in there, and there was 2 slider doors in between that, way out in the hallway, and you could hear this girl screaming through there. I'm like, what the hell? I thought the car was messing up or something. And I found out this was a girl. And so all these officers on this little bitty girl, bringing her in, and she was throwing them around. I was like, what the heck is going on? And so when we finally got her into the cell, she looked at me and she stopped and she said, sir, you know better. And I said, I suppose, you know, she said, can you please pray for me because they're coming to get me? And I'm like, who's coming to get you? And she said, never mind, they are gonna come and get me. And she said, you wouldn't believe the stuff that I'm in. You know, my family's been in it for generations. There were Satan worshipers for generations, she said. And she said that the only thing that she's ever drunk in her life was blood, urine, and semen. This girl was serious. I mean, and I'm like, oh my God. And some judges or somebody came and bonded her out and got her out a little bit later. Yeah. And she was saying, you know, so there's some wickedness in high places, man, and people are going through, you never know what people are going through, man. And so, but God does, and he's with you. So, you know, you might be going through drug addiction, you're going off and on. The lady I'm giving that book to, she's in drug court. And a lot of those people who go through drug court, they, you know, they have programs for them and they get out, and then some of them, they fall back and go back on the drugs, stuff like that. And they feel bad about themselves. And I talk to them and stuff, man. And I tell them the same thing. God's not against you, you know. He's for you all the time. He loves you. And that's what he told me. And it's my last message. Let people know that I'm a loving father, and he is. He loves you, whoever you are. That's my message.
Well, thanks for coming on today. It was a pleasure having you.
Well, thank you, sir, for having me on.